Okay, so what's the one demographic that Trump way outperformed in?
Men.
It's the demographic that most of society, and you guys might think this is like, oh, you're being dramatic. Most of society forgot men.
Oof.
And this is the demographic that he spoke to the strongest. This is all the podcasts he did, all the long form he did. He really went all in. And so we showed that map yesterday. If the country all were men versus the country, if all the voters were men versus all the women.
Yep.
And they didn't run on, they didn't think about this. So play this real quick.
Strides in economic equality, earning more college degrees than men and serving more often as their family's primary breadwinner. Men, on the other hand, are working less. Many are living without a spouse or a partner. A Pew study found less than a fifth of Americans believe that the progress women have made in society came at the expense of men. But 40% of men supporting Trump between the ages of 18 and 49 do believe the progress of women came at their expense. And Trump...
It's not nothing.
I mean, there's a whole theory about like the more you got women out of the household to work, the more that could potentially oversaturate the job market, which then had decreased wages. That's a theory. I'm not stamping that theory as 100% fact, but that's what a lot of people believe.
It's a basic supply and demand argument.
Yeah. So you got more workers, less you need less skilled workers.
Yeah.
Less people are going to get shots. Now again, I'm not saying I'm co-signing that 100%, you know.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
To reach out to this demographic, doing podcasts and golfing with the Nelk Boys, joking around with Theo Von, appearing on YouTube with Jake and Logan Paul, as well as with streamers like Aiden Ross, reaching the millions of young men who follow these social media personalities. As the New York Times put it, these repeated collisions...
I got to say, when you zoom out and they show the little bits of each of those podcast appearances, you're like, they kind of killed that campaign. Like individually, you're like Aiden Ross. I remember how goofy that was. But when it's in the context of all these other ones, it doesn't look as bad.
...of testosterone-fueled orbits are a campaign strategy, not a coincidence. Look, that our young men today are struggling in comparison to young women, it's borne out in the data, raising the question of whether it's time for a targeted intervention. Consider that at the Democratic Party website, there's a list under the heading, Who We Serve, of 16 different demographic groups. They include African Americans, the faith community, LGBTQ plus community, rural Americans, and women, but not men. Which brings me to today's poll.
Right?
Come on,
you serve everybody but young men? That's a big...
I mean, yeah. They would have been okay if they left out women because then you could say they're just trying to target all the different, more like micro niches, right? So like faith community, that's men and women. But then they put women there and it's like, ugh.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's crazy.
Poll question at Smerconish.com. Are policy solutions necessary to address the plight of young men who are underperforming in schools and leading unhealthier lives than young women? Go vote. Joining me now is NYU Business School professor Scott Galloway, host of the podcast Prof G. Scott, of course, has been at the forefront of discussions about the plight of young men who feel forgotten. Great to have you back. That Claire Kane Miller piece in the New York Times, I thought really interesting because the men in this category whom she interviewed, she said they're not misogynist. They're more focused on the economy and what they perceive to be their lack of economic opportunity.
You notice the language and what they perceive to be.
Yeah.
So something that the right has said a lot. Facts don't care about your feelings, right? Here's the thing that you guys don't understand, and Hafiz said this, and I thought this was brilliant. I'm excited to bring to you guys our first ever Bless God Summit happening March 27th, 28th, 29th in Southern California. The Beat's very own Alan Parr and Jen Parr, my guy John McCrae from the What Do You Mean YouTube channel, Preston Perry, Dr. Sean McDowell, Live Actions, Lila Rose, Trizzle Fitness, my pastor Jeff and his wife Erin Moores, as well as live performances from America's Got Talent winner Dustin Savella, Ryan Horton leading worship, Dirt Poor Robbins, and a special concert from John Keith and Miles Minnick. And listen, the goal of this conference is so that we can be the solution to all this craziness as we're coming out of a very tumultuous 2024. I don't know who's going to win this election, but I know there's going to be a lot of upset people come 2025. Now, this is our first conference that we're doing, but this is not our first live event. About a year ago, we did a 3-hour event where we brought in some of the same speakers, and here's some of the feedback from the people that attended that event.
One of the things that stood out to me was how you need to be secure in the Word of God and how reliable it is.
Making sure that God is in my personal ambition.
The reason this is important is because the church has to gather. If you're somebody who is on the edge or on the fence of wondering if you should jump in or not, jump in.
The health of my body is connected to my spiritual health, and that I need to take care of it.
Be prepared to bring your notebook and be prepared
to be reminded that you are made for more.
I'm excited to announce that we really want to get as many of you there as we can. So we developed a couple of things. One, we now have a full scholarship opportunity. For those of you guys that are like, Ruslan, I want to be there, man, but the way my bank account is set up right now, I just can't cut it, bro. Okay, great. We have a scholarship available where you can fill out a scholarship, and we have opportunities for those of y'all that got it and got the funds and you want to sponsor someone. We have opportunities to sponsor someone, and right inside of the ticket sales section, and an opportunity to buy a pay it forward ticket, as well as group discounts. If you want to bring a bunch of your friends, or if you're a pastor and you want to bring your whole staff, those are available as well. And there's now even payment plans. So you could put a little bit down now, and I think it'll take it out every month or so. But there is some bad news. If you're watching this right now, that means you already missed the very first price jump. The prices were super cheap, and when we initially launched this, now they went up. They're going to go up again in a few weeks. So go to blessgodsummit.com now to get your tickets, to apply for a scholarship, to sponsor someone going that needs to be there. And I can't wait to see you guys, hang out with you guys in person, March 27th, 28th, 29th, here in beautiful North County, San Diego, Carlsbad, California. Feelings don't care about your facts. So you could tell men to man up and tell men to do this and tell men to do that and say, lazy men blame women for their cringe laziness. Okay, but you understand, if you're detached from their perception and how they feel about the world, we can give them all the facts, but if you can't relate to how they feel, you're gonna keep getting results like this. You're gonna keep getting like, what is the appeal with Trump? Why would so many men vote for a fascist?
All these misogynists.
You're not listening. You're not listening to men. Andrew Tate didn't rise in a vacuum. Kevin Samuels didn't rise in a vacuum, right? Now, I would say that those are perversions of God's actual design for masculinity and patriarchy, biblical patriarchy. But that's the misread that I kept having with friends on the left.
Yeah.
You don't get that, like, he's speaking to real pain points. How real those are is irrelevant. How, right? But they're real enough where men are frustrated by that. And so this is the forgotten demographic. This is the demographic that's most likely to struggle with mental illness, the most likely to self-delete themselves, most likely to die from a death of despair, most likely to overdose. 7 million of able-bodied working men have checked out from the marketplace. They're not working in any documented jobs. So this is the forgotten demographic.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Will you speak to that issue?
Great to see you, Michael. Yeah, it's interesting. It would be incorrect to assume that it's men who want to go back to the past and are some way. This isn't thinly veiled misogyny. As a matter of fact, among Gen Z and millennial men, they're very supportive of gender equality. So it's not that they're moving towards the Republican Party. They feel abandoned by the Democratic Party.
They feel left by the left. That's how a lot of people feel. The left left us, fam. Right? That's how a lot of men feel. Go ahead.
Is if you have a group, the Democratic Party right now, Michael, is facing the same issues as some of the DEI apparatus at universities. And that is when you are purposely and explicitly advocating for 76% of the population, are you advocating for them, or are you discriminating against the 24%? And that's how I think a lot of young men feel. Quite frankly, they just don't feel seen by the Democratic Party. To the issue of economics, you reference college, where pretty soon with these trends, we're going to have 2-to-1 female-to-male college grads.
That's rough. 2-to-1 female. Most people end up meeting their husband in college. Now you're going to have 2-to-1. 2-to-1 women. That's really bad.
You think so?
I mean, in terms of who's going to be going into debt, is going to be more women. Who's going to be being more, quote unquote, higher educated is going to be more women. So it's just going to create more and more of that disparity.
But yeah, there are the negatives that go with that, though, too, which is like the debt part.
Sure.
So it's like there's going to be a disparity of. So you're going to say there's more likely to be women that are higher educated, but there's also more likely to be women that are in debilitating debt.
Areas under the age of 30 are now making more money than men. More single women own homes than men. And by the way, those are wonderful things. And most men don't resent that. But what they see is a huge apparatus and resources and rhetoric and very inspiring speeches about the importance of advocating for every single group but young men.
That's the con of identity politics. Why? Because on an intersectional hierarchy, if you're a white, cisgendered, straight male, you're you have no struggles. Your life is peaches.
Yeah.
Right? And so you keep saying that over and over to them, and you don't keep addressing the issues they're dealing with, what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, it's not nothing.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be a popular position to carry that flag. And I want to show you something. I'll read it aloud in case you don't have a return. There was a headline in the New York Times, Trump courts the Maniverse. There it is. Big story, well done story. And I took a look, Scott, at some of the comments. And this one caught my eye because it was typical. Put that up on the screen, Catherine. So this person said, that headline says it all. A bunch of bros with fake jobs, preaching to a bunch of bros with no jobs, being courted by a tiny man who has never held a job that he was qualified for. And I could read you 10 like that, more than 10 like that.
It's so condescending. So good.
And I think that's part of the reason why, there's this mindset out there like, screw these guys, they don't need assistance. Many of them are young white men. They've been privileged to begin with. What would you say to those who aren't showing the sympathy for the demographic we're talking about?
It's simple. Should a 19-year-old who has fewer opportunities educationally, fewer opportunities professionally. What happened to wood, metal, and auto shop? You have an education system that's highly biased against them. Boys are twice as likely on a behavior-adjusted basis to be suspended as girls. Think about what we want in education. We want someone who's organized, who's a pleaser, who sits down, who's not disruptive. You basically describe a girl. So the question is, do we believe empathy is a zero-sum game? And that is, marriage didn't hurt heteronormative marriage. Civil rights didn't hurt white people. And should a 19-year-old with fewer economic and romantic opportunities pay the price for the privilege that you and me enjoyed, Michael? That's the key question.
He's cooking.
Is it time for specific observable traits and say, we're promoting this group and this group and this group, but not this one? Move to, okay, young people are 24% less wealthy than they were 40 years ago versus plus 70-year-olds are 72% wealthier. Young families are struggling. 3 million men between the age of 25 and 34 are no longer even seeking employment. 1 out of 3 young men.
Did I just say that?
Yeah.
I just said that, right? I just said that. I said that, this is not good. Like, this stuff is not good, and no one's addressing it.
Have a girlfriend. 2 out of 3 young women under the age of 30 do have a girlfriend because they're dating older for more economically and emotionally viable men. So we need programs that lift up all young people. But we need to move away from this identity politics because it's not about promoting or advocating. It's turned into reverse discrimination.
He's
That's
cooking.
crazy. On CNN, too.
On CNN.
When you do this, and I mean this with the highest praise, I have to go back and watch the tape because you just hit me with so much good data that I want to write it all down. Put up on the screen the social media reaction because I might want to lean on Scott for the response before he leaves us. Here it is. Sounds like more coddling of fragile male egos and a form of affirmative action. See, this is typical, Scott. This is just like all those comments in the New York Times. Quote, maybe if boys and young men spent more time studying and less time bullying others, gaming or trying to get laid, they'd be better educated.
That's crazy.
This is why y'all can't have nice things.
Love it, yeah.
Who do you think built most of our society and the infrastructure?
Yeah.
It's the guys that were at one point getting bullied or bullying, playing video games,
Trying to get laid.
and trying to get laid. That's who built the system. That's who built your country. That's who built it.
It's called growing up.
It's called growing up.
A lot of non-Christian men start out that way.
Yes.
And then they mature.
And then they grow up. And then they become your plumbers and your welders and your construction workers.
Hello. That's crazy.
So
You would say
this is why.
Yeah.
Replace the term young men with blacks or women and see the reaction you would get from a statement like that.
Mic drop.
That man pulled a Daily Wire on CNN.
Mic drop. Go ahead.
I mean, again, we're not going to have a productive society if young men aren't engaging with school, they're not engaging with work, and they're not engaging with women. The whole shooting match is that America is a platform such that people can get together and form loving, deep, and meaningful relationships. That is why you have an economy, to create a middle class such that young people can build nice lives.
Come on.
And one of the keys to building a productive life is the ability to find a partner. And the reality is we don't talk about kind of the core issue here, and it's mating. And that is women made socioeconomically horizontally and up, men horizontal and down. And when the pool of horizontal and up keeps shrinking, young people aren't connecting.
That's why college is a big deal.
Because men go horizontal and down,
Women go
horizontal and up. But if there's nothing up, there's no men up, there's a bunch of women making a lot of money,
or a bunch of blue collar men down because
Yeah.
they still got to be plumbers.
it's going to have to reverse. Men are going to have to go up from a financial perspective.
Which, by the way, I keep saying this to women, 86%, according to Forbes, women, they hate me saying this, are gonna want to be moms.
Yeah. And
I just had this conversation with a close family member of mine who's a lawyer.
yeah.
She said, I'm 30 now. I want to be a mom. So women, you don't get it. You're going to make more money, But at some point, you're gonna go to college, you're gonna do the thing, but then you're gonna want to be a mom. 86% of you guys. And 1/3 of those 86%, is according to Forbes Women, you can go fact check me on this, ends up resenting their husband if they can't create that for them.
I have an antidote for that as well. I know somebody, a young family, where the roles are reversed here. So the woman's making more money than the man, and they have a baby. And now, just I think through natural life progression, biology, natural calling of a man and natural calling of a woman, they're working on switching that. So she's like, oh, I actually want to be home. And he's like, I actually want to have a career and make more money. And so now they're moving, going to figure out, get in some apprenticeships, whatever, so that he can eventually be the breadwinner, and then she can stay home with the kids. And so like that is a natural, it's like it's down going up and women going down, but then this natural shift over time to where it's like, oh, this is naturally going to correct itself because it's not the
and that is very dangerous and problematic for me to say to women. And men don't like me when I tell them that. They don't want to be told you're gonna marry a woman, regardless on a housing situation, regardless on a market. You're gonna marry a woman, and eight out of 10 of those women are probably gonna want to be moms and stay home at some point. I understand the economy and the isms and all that stuff. I understand all that's working against you, but that's the reality of the situation. So then, if that's the reality of the situation, and men understand that that's coming, they're gonna vote in their own best interest. And who you think is in their best interest? A Harris campaign or a Trump campaign? That's really simple. Hey, thank you so much for checking out the video. Comment down below and let me know what you think. And be sure to check out this video that YouTube is recommending just for you. Let me know if they nailed it. All right? I'll see you over there. Peace.